The Iron Giant. Classic kids movie from people in our generation. I just watched it again, and I have a basic little review on it. So the movie starts off somewhere off the coast of Maine, and a side character, a fisherman, is calling in to say about his boat being like filled with water and stuff like that. But why is it just somewhere off the coast of Maine? You could give us longitude and latitude and it'd be fine. But continuing, something crashes into the water, then it rises up, emitting a light. The sailor thinks it's a lighthouse, but it's not. It's actually the Iron Giant. Then we cut to a few days later with our man, while he's explaining to his buddies in the diner, we cut to our main protagonist, Hogarth Hughes. What kind of name is Hogarth? 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 I don't know. But he goes in talking to his mom, who works at the diner, saying he has this new pet he wants to keep. And mom's like, what? You're just gonna let it house again? Like the raccoon? They had a raccoon, I guess. And the pet's actually a squirrel. Judging by this, he seems to like adopting different animals into his home. Leading up to later when he adopts, basically, the giant. This is a pretty long intro, and then the squirrel seems to escape from its box and head over to a table with another character we learn whose name is Dean. Dean. But then, while talking to Mr. Dean Scrap Metal Boy, the background shows the ship captain talking about earlier giving us exposition about the giant and thinking either it's like a Sputnik or an alien. You gotta remember, this movie was set in like the 60s. This is good because then Hogarth learns about it and wants to go investigate about it and then the squirrel ends up going up Dean's pant leg. It's funny, but then he has to take off his pants to get it out of his pants because they're so tight. And well, not me, but a friend of mine was still wondering, Hogarth's mom falls in love with him? Well, of course, Hogarth's mom is very hot. A basic hot mom. Don't go on Tumblr. Don't look her up. So this was around the time, the hot mom thing started. It was either Hogarth's mom or Dexter's mom. Don't quote me on that. I did not research that. Then it goes to Hogarth now being at home while his mom is still at work. And his mom's called him to I'm working late, so don't watch scary movies, don't eat sweets before bed. He proceeds to go into the bread thing, which has Wonder Bread, and Twinkies in. And then he was watching a very time-accurate movie, a black and white movie, one of those old horror movies. He overfilled a Twinkie with whipped cream. Best idea. I want to try it. Maybe for another video I might. The scientist in the movie is working with brains. Does anyone else notice that it kind of looks like Clark Kent? Kind of a foreshadowing into the Superman thing later. Hogarth builds a very dangerous, unstable blanket fort. Then he hears something off and decides to go into the woods and check it out. He has a BB gun under his bed. But at this point in the movie, you don't even know it's a BB gun. So he starts heading into the woods, and there's an amazing detail on the trees due to the giant's lake. Then the giant appears at the power station that's somehow nearby Hogarth's house. He literally disobeyed his mom not to leave the house. The power plant is literally undetected. Not undetected, unattended. And then, so the giant goes to eat the power plant plant equal delicious, then it gets caught in the powers stuff causing it to be shocked. The funny thing is, Screaming Monster only heard by one. No one else showed up. No one else! Hogarth goes to shut it off. But why is there an on-off switch on the side of the building when this is supposed to be a power plant that's supposed to be controlled by a company and not accessed by the public? I know there was a fence, but why would you leave that outside? And loses his memory. Of course, the giant lost his memory. When Hogarth, being very curious, goes over to the giant and then gets terrified of it, so ends up running to the road, leaving his BB gun, which was destroyed. And suddenly his mom is at the road because she came home and was like, Hogarth? Hogarth? And then she knew exactly where he was. Or at least exactly what road to go down to find him. Is this a regular thing with him? I have many lines under this note saying, how does no one see the giant? Because literally as Hogarth is leaving the power plant with his mom, in the trees you can see the giant standing back up. They cut to Hogarth in school with some Cold War, like, nuclear bomb videos. Like, if you don't hide under your desk, you're gonna die. The teacher only yelled at Hogarth for talking when 3 other students were talking. So I found that interesting. It's like, why only Hogarth? Because of his name? Meanwhile, during this movie, they're watching the Cold War Hide Under Your Desk. Hogarth is drawing a picture of the giant, and it's actually looking pretty good, so Hogarth is a good artist. Good thing, too, for when his mom marries, actually in the movie, but it's suspected. Then a government guy is called in. He was called in earlier, but I forgot to mention it.
Well, they mentioned that he's called in during the scene where Dean is called for the guy's tractor that got picked.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So maybe say that and we'll put that there.
So we cut to... Wait, it was cut before the school. So after the school scene, we cut to Dean taking away a tractor that's been bitten into by the giant. And then the guy selling the tractor, the same sailor, saying, I'm selling it, and I called the government, they're sending someone now. And they end up sending this guy called Kent Mansley. And they end up searching the power plant, and he finds Hogarth's gun. But what it says on it is Hog Hug. Because the back of the rifle was literally bitten off. Two scenes in Gravity Falls where you fight giant robots. And then after that, well, Mansley's car gets eaten. Still no one sees the giant. Okay. So then we cut to Hogarth, probably later after school, coming back with a camera and a slab of metal. Where the heck did he get this slab of metal? His mom has to work overtime just to pay for them. How the heck is he affording this metal? Okay. How did no one hear the giant in these scenes? Then the giant ends up coming along to this little trap of scrap metal and Hogarth trying to get a picture. The giant returns the metal to Hogarth, and Hogarth gets a picture with his camera, this ending up bad later on, as you will hear from me. How did no one hear this giant, especially with Hogarth sleeping? How did he not hear it moving? And then, so the giant sits down with Hogarth. He fits, is my logo for when I saw it. And, Hogarth called this little dent on his head, a bump. A dent is not equal to a bump. Dents are inward, bumps are outward. Really, movie, get your facts straight. Hogarth didn't mind teaching it how to talk. It only kind of knew how to say rock and tree. So, good low expectations, I guess. His Link is really cute. Hogarth told him to stay when trying to go home, because it was late. But the giant kept following, like a giant robot doggo. Which is why Hogarth likes the robot so much, because it acts like an actual pet. So they pass over train tracks, and the giant decides, I'm gonna eat this. So he takes a bite out of the track. Hogarth comes back and is like, what are you doing? Put that back! And guess what? Inconvenient train, except for the plot, decides to start coming down the tracks. They panic, trying to put it back. It looks good enough, but no, the giant has robot OCD. Like, it's gotta be perfect, it's gotta be perfect. Then the robot gets hit by a train. Pieces spattering everywhere, but then, well, mostly his arms. And his jaw. So Hogarth takes the giant to the barn near his house. Why does he even have a barn? And Giant uses his body part homing system that brings all his body parts to him. And some screw foreshadowing in his jaw for later. His smile is very adorable. The use of the word neato was very nice. So then, after the giant is put back together, Hogarth goes inside to go eat dinner with his mom. They have a prayer, but Hogarth's taking over praying. And suddenly, the giant's hand is in the kitchen. And it leads to this really funny, impromptu prayer. Get out of here, Satan. So then Hogarth goes to wash his hands, aka try to get the giant hand out. Then to distract his mom, tries to throw a coin in the kitchen and knock something off the spice cabinet shelf. Knocks the whole spice cabinet down. That's a really shitty cabinet. Then at the door is our man of the hour, Kent Mansley, from the government. Swearing at the door. Is he a nice guy? We'll never know. Actually, we will, because it's Dick. As Mansley was using the phone because he had just walked over to Hogarth's house from the train track studying the wreck, he ends up calling the general and calling the giant a menace, which my friend proceeded to reference Spider-Man.
He's a menace!
No one takes this villain serious, which is great. The general's like, yeah, if you get a picture of it, yeah, but you just have a feeling. So then the robot hand proceeds to head upstairs while they're trying to deal with Mr. Kent over there, and feeding him a little. And they proceed to hear the toilet flush. I guess the robot hand seems to like toilet paper. Then Hogarth heads up there to get the hand out the window into the barn. During this, he's making many grunting noises, which sounds like he's taking a big poop. So his mom goes up. He also yells, get out. His mom's like, Hogarth, are you okay? And they open the door, and Hogarth got the hand out, pulled his pants down, and said, privacy? Why was Kent looking? Why was he looking at this kid who was taking a poo? Pedophile? Maybe. Back to the barn. Hogarth telling him, it's like, you should keep track of your hands and stuff more. Then we hear the robot's stomach growl. The robot has a stomach. Poor design planning for whoever made those. Also, I love the reference to Mad Magazine and Action Comics. With the Superman. How does no one see this giant? again, he was over the tree. They go out just to like run around and stuff. And then, so they were looking over the city, and I was like, oh yeah, that's my hometown. And the giant, he ran very fast down the hill trying to get to me. It's like, no, they can't see you, they'll shoot! And stuff. Like that. And then, so they see Dean in his tow truck pulling away a crashed car. So they head to Dean's scrapyard. Because the robot wants snack. We get to the scrapyard, and Hogarth's like, alright, go on ahead, stuff your face. Stuff your face. Relatable. Then he ends up biting a car that's alarm still works, and it's going off, and Hogarth's like, shut it off! So the giant proceeds to yeet it all the way across the scrapyard. And then we end up meeting Dean again in his house. He's a junk scrap artist, I guess. Fun. Hogarth continues to say that he's hip, so he can drink coffee. Hip. Talks about how espresso is CoffeeZilla. CoffeeZilla. Then this espresso causes Hogarth to seem like he has a lot of ADHD. Just bouncing around, but maybe that's just the hyperactive coffee truck. At first thing, Giant Dean comes out with a crowbar. Sorry for all the people who are like Jason Todd. Then the giant ends up saying Dean, and he's their ad, and it's really adorable. And a friend basically said to me while we were watching it, Iron Giant, more like Iron Baby, because of how the giant acts like an infant. And then Dean ends up pouring out his coffee, which another friend of mine said was a waste of coffee.
I say coffee is a waste of space.
Then Dean proceeds to say hell, swearing from the 90s. Yeah, the 60s, actually. And then my favorite line, when the giant's eating scrap is actually eating art. There are two kinds of metal in this yard. Scrap, you can eat that, and art, don't eat that. What you have currently in your mouth is art! During all this, Hogarth had went home and found out our favorite man, Kent Mansley, has rented the room in their house. And then Hogarth Kent proceeds to nag him about stuff like, where'd you see the giant, kid? What about this giant? Because his mom had proceeded to tell him that Hogarth had seen a giant. Using all these cheesy dad names that piss Hogarth off. So then Hogarth's going out, and his mom's like, oh, take Mr. Mansley with you. Show him the sights. Hogarth's like, the sights? So he ends up taking him to this little, malt shop. And teaches him, oh yeah, you just take a candy bar and crush it up in your whipped cream and mix it into the ice cream. Well, the chocolate bar he gave Mr. Mansley was Chocolax. Chocolate laxative. Mansley goes on to talk about how paranoid the government is, and how paranoid he is, and then the laxatives kick in. And Hogarth runs away back to Dean's place, because Dean called him saying, I thought you said he was spending the night, not staying the whole time. And then Hogarth comes back to the giant doing arts and crafts. Dean goes out and says, what, not cool enough for you? And stuff like that, and Hogarth's like, I'm Coolsville, population, so Scooby-Doo crossover? Maybe? I don't know. Sounds by Warner Brothers, so maybe. And then Hogarth decides, okay, I'm gonna have the giant pick up this car and spin me around in a very dangerous way. And that was scary. Then it cuts to a montage of our favorite boy, Mansley, going around asking about the giant, And also snippets of him literally having to ask where the bathroom is, almost pooping himself. Then he ends up finding Hogarth's camera he never went back for. Hogarth never went back for his camera from earlier. Then it cuts back to Dean, Hogarth, and the Giant. They proceed to go to the beach. Well, more like lake. Sorry. And then Hogarth does a cannonball. It's freezing cold. Then the Giant backs away. Hogarth starts calling him a weenie. Giant runs back and does a cannonball, creating everybody's favorite Tumblr gif. Dean gets washed into the road. Guy comes over and says, "Hey, you know you're in the middle of the road." "Yeah? Don't you want to?" "Yeah!" Okay then, go on. We cut to Mansley, our favorite boy, as he's using one of the bathrooms in Hogarth's house for film development, which I don't think would actually work in a house. Also, if Hogarth's mom found it, would be like, "Rick, are you doing in my bathroom?" Then it cuts back to Hogarth and the Giant. They find a deer, try to touch it, then hunters shoot it. It might have been Bambi's dad or Bambi himself, I don't know. Hogarth tells him not to touch it, don't touch the dead. And then the Giant gets triggered by guns. Guns are bad. Iron Giant has Iron Giant PTSD. Who knew? Everyone knew. Back to our favorite boy Mansley, who's found a picture of Hogarth with the Giant. Once Hogarth comes home, putting his bike in the barn they somehow have, then grabs Hogarth and says, "Where's the Giant? You know, I already have photo proof that can bring the army here." And he threatens his mom by saying, like, if we were to show this to your mom, we'd get you taken away from her. Then Hogarth agrees to tell him where the Giant is. And then our favorite boy, Mansley, proceeds to chloroform a child. Also, question about Hogarth's mom. Why did you leave your son with this fucking why'd you leave your son with this frickin' stranger? Who's already almost seen your son handsome. Then Hogarth wakes up in his room, tries to leave. Mansley stops him. He's basically nailed Hogarth's window shut, and he's gonna keep an eye on him until the army gets here in the morning. He puts on a helmet from his dad, who was in the Air Force, as we see in a picture. They both fall asleep, but then when the guy wakes up, Mansley, our favorite boy, Hogarth passed by saying, "Hey," and realized a pillow decoy was made. The government goes to where told the Giant was, and Dean has already disguised the Giant with art, made him an art piece. Hogarth's mom proceeds to like Dean's art. Hot mom likes art! And then Hogarth proceeds to play this game where the Giant is supposed to be a Tomo, who was a villain in the comics we saw earlier in the movie. And Giant was like, "No, Atomo, Superman." So then Hogarth proceeds to point a little, funny gun, kid gun at him. But Hogarth, you know he doesn't like guns! Why would you do that? Turns up to set off his laser eye defense system, basically, and almost kill Hogarth. And then Dean's like, "You could have done that to Hogarth!" Giant proceeds to run away. It proceeds to start snowing. When is this? What year? He was just in school. But then Dean figured out it was self-defense that the Giant used the lasers. Finally, the Giant is seen by townspeople after he saves 2 kids who fell. Nice catch when he caught the 2 kids. So the government's leaving by this point. And so only the government freaks out about the Giant. The people around the Giant who had caught the kids aren't freaking out. They're like, "Whoa, what's this?" Only the government freaks out. Sheer paranoia. Then they come back trying to fight the Giant. And then Hogarth's now with the giant. And Dean says, "There's a kid with the giant, don't shoot at it." Kent proceeds to go back to the general and says, "The giant killed a kid. We have to go after it." Then proceeds to accidentally fall off the giant, and Hogarth proceeds to accidentally fall off the cliff due to running away. And we discover the giant has rocket feet. And as they're flying, planes come in and start shooting at the giant. The giant seems to have learned a little bit of control over the self-defense mechanism by going like this and saying, "No, no." But then they fall, and it looks like Hogarth's dead. But he's not. Then the anger from this heals the giant's dent. While running away, the general seems to lead it to the city! Why would you do that? Hogarth gets picked up by his mom and Dean. They're taken to the hospital. Then they discover they're evacuating the city to shoot at the giant. Hogarth wakes up, leaves to go stop the giant, who is now turned into a giant, like, attacking robot, which was gonna be attacking everything. He doesn't listen to his mother. And then Hogarth says, "You choose how you want to be." And then he changes back. And they're already set to fire this missile that will literally destroy everything. Aimed at the giant. It's friendly. The general's like, "It's friendly? We need to stop." And then Kent, our favorite boy, decides to take the radio and say, "Shoot the missile!" And then Kent tries to leave because he forgot that once it explodes there, it'll kill them too. Luckily, the giant stops him from running away with a jeep with his hand. Kent got what's coming to him. And then the giant proceeds to fly up and stop the missile, being Superman that he is, but falling into pieces. Self-sacrifice. Point for that. They end up making a giant statue for him, which is amazing. Dean actually designed it, we find out. Hogarth finally got friends, and Hogarth also got a screw from the giant's jaw. But it tapped on the glass one night, and we all know the giant's okay now. In recap, doesn't apply to 12-year-olds from what I've learned. Giant's okay. Guns are bad. Kent's a dick. Thank you. Alright, so my question for everyone else after this is, if you had an Iron Giant, what would you do?
Hi there, Chris here. There was a lot of confusion based around the concept of this channel from the others involved, and I want to apologize for that. I didn't do a well enough job explaining the rules. Tony was supposed to upload a video tomorrow. No. Tony was supposed to upload a video Thursday. She missed that date entirely. Sylvia was supposed to update a video Friday. She didn't know until the day was almost over. And that child has and she has a tendency to fall asleep at inopportune moments. As of recording this right now, I am waiting for Jessica's video to finish compressing itself into a more friendly format. So here's what's going to happen. Jessica's video is going to go up at the very tail end of Sunday. Sylvia's video is going to hopefully make it up there around sometime on Monday. I will upload also on Monday. That way everything's all together and finished, and we can hopefully get back into the thing we're trying to do. Very sorry. Thank you.